These fingers were meant for inserting VMUs, not for anything else, really.
This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens. If I ask you right now, Jeff, to picture an apple, close your eyes and picture an apple in your mind.
Like a Macintosh?
I'm going to let you decide. I'm going to let you decide.
All right. Like a phone or a tablet or
sure.
Like my Vision Pro, maybe?
You got to pick one, though. You got to pick one right now and tell me.
All right. I'm envisioning an iPad.
Okay. Can you actually clearly see that iPad in your mind?
Yes.
You can see it is a 3-dimensional iPad.
Yes.
It is floating in space in front of you.
Exactly.
And
yes.
you can spin it around in your brain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, congratulations, Jeff. You're a normal goddamn human being.
Finally, you acknowledge that.
Yeah. I mean, at least in this case, you're a normal goddamn human being. But since 2015, Jeff, we have had a word for not being able to picture the iPad in your mind.
Oh. Is it a PC user? What is it?
That's right. That word is John Hodgman.
It's called John from 2015. I think it was a little earlier, actually. Is it called Android?
That's right.
No,
if you can't see pictures in your mind, you're a goddamn emotionless robot, and we've caught you. No, it's called aphantasia.
Yes, my favorite Mickey Mouse movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching aphantasia on a Saturday.
My favorite aphantasia is the hippos dancing with the crocodiles.
Yes,
that one's really good.
I like it when he puts that hat on and he gets up to mischief.
Mm-hmm. Or Night on Bald Mountain. That's a good one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good aphantasias. I didn't like Aphantasia 2000.
Me neither.
It wasn't as cool.
No, I agree.
Aphantasia actually comes from, I believe, a word that was created by Aristotle. Phantasia, meaning mind's eye, and aphantasia means you ain't got one.
Not for you.
Mind's eye, bud. Sorry for you.
Unfantasia.
Yeah, more like garbage-tasia. Here's what's up. There are 5 different levels of basically Fantasia.
Oh, okay.
And these 5 different levels are essentially they start at aphantasia, which is, hey, think of a flower. And
you can't? You literally can't?
You can't. Well, you can think of a flower, but you can't picture a flower. I see.
You think of the idea of a flower.
It's tricky. And we're going to get into that. But then you have, that's like level 5. That's like that's like aphantasia. It's 1%. They think 1% to generously, potentially as many as much as 4% of the population.
Just don't get an image in their head.
Don't get an image in their head. Level 4 here is what most people think of when they think of aphantasia, which is a dim and vague image of the flower or the iPad, which is kind of like you can kind of see it like it's smeary and it's like there maybe it doesn't have color, but you can sort of picture the shape of it. Like then you got level 3, which is kind of the average, which is moderately realistic and vivid. You can sort of picture the flower like it's there, but maybe you can't see every detail, right?
Yeah.
Level 2 is realistic and reasonably vivid, which I would say, Jeff, might be looking at something through a VR headset, right? Like, like for you, that's the analogy I'm going to use. Like, yeah, that's basically the thing. I know it's not the thing. It doesn't quite look real, but that's the thing.
It's and a PS1 version.
Yeah, a bit, maybe. Yeah. And then you have hyperphantasia, which is perfectly realistic. I close my eyes and I see it the same way I would see anything that's in front of me.
I'm tempted to say I am that, but maybe, I mean, it's hard to differentiate between those top 2, I think, because I can see the detail of the thing, but only if I think about the detail of the thing. You know what I mean? It's not like it's.
But that's okay. Like you're conjuring it, right? Like
I'm like, okay, what's the edge of the iPad look like? I can see it. I can see the edge. I can see the little button. I can see the bezel. You know, like. But I don't know. It's.
But you can get it clear if you need to.
Yeah.
Jeff, would it surprise you to know that I am somewhere between a 5 and a 4? I am either completely aphantasic or I can sometimes conjure like a dim outline of something. Sometimes.
I think we've talked about this before, and you've mentioned that, and I find that as alien a concept to me as there is. Like it is such a fundamental part of how I interact with my brain that I have a hard time even understanding what life is like for you. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's why it took so long to really discover, study, and put a word to.
Yeah.
Because until somebody tells you differently.
Yeah. You just assume everybody works the same.
Yeah, exactly. So when people who have aphantasia, I remember when I first heard about this story, I believe it was the same researcher we're going to be talking about today, but a couple of years before the word aphantasia really came into play, I remember, I think we were covering it on D News, and I remember going, wait, when I say picture it, that's not figurative, you're picturing it? And everybody went, yeah, you're not picturing it? And I was like, no. No, there's no, when you close your eyes, there's nothing because your eyes are closed, you dummies. You absolute buffoons. What would you be seeing? You maroons, you nincompoops. And they said the same to me.
Yes. The nincompooper was the nincompoopy.
Could you believe?
I use this in my life all the time as somebody who is actively trying to write a novel right now and has been a dungeon master for D&D things.
Now, when you say right now, you mean the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay, just check, so everybody's on the same page.
But when I write fiction, what I am doing is conjuring an image in my mind and then trying to describe that with words.
Now see, here's what I tell people whenever I'm like, designing something or I'm shooting or like I'm shooting something or writing something. I'm always like, I know what it should look like and I can't see it. And that's why I so desperately want to create it.
Wow.
Because I know every detail of what it should look like.
Right. But you know that not because you've seen it, but because you have a sense of it.
Because I have a concept of it, conceptually. So when you said earlier, it's like a notion of the thing. No, it's not a notion. I know exactly what the thing is down to the detail. I simply can't see it. You know what I mean? Like I can describe, if you were to try to describe something that wasn't right in front of you, but you had seen 1,000 times, you'd be able to describe it.
Right. So let's say we're referencing a famous scene from a movie.
Yeah.
That you have seen 1,000,000 times.
Probably the hot dog finger piano hand from Freddy Got Fingered.
Right. The most common we could have used a less common movie reference, but we'll use the one that everybody was thinking.
I don't want to leave anybody behind, so I chose Tom Green's seminal film, Freddy Got Fingered.
So now you just said
Please only speak in terms of Freddy Got Fingered.
The Freddy Got Fingered cast is on
Rip Torn.
Yet again. Rip Torn. Now again, you've said Rip Torn, you said that scene from Freddy Got Fingered, you said Tom Green. Each time you said those things, I see an image in my head. If you reference that scene, I am going through my weird little brain Rolodex of scenes from that movie and going, oh yeah, that one.
Does it
and
help
what
if I go, Daddy, would you like a sausage?
Yeah, he's got all the things tied to his hands.
That's right.
The strings.
That's right.
Yeah, I see that. I literally am like, I see now something that you have already seen. Well, obviously an apple would be the same thing, but is a movie scene, if you're referencing a movie scene like that, do you have an image of it in your mind?
No.
Really? You just sort of have a memory of the feelings that it evoked, or what?
No, I know what it looks. It's hard to explain because it's hard to explain for a very specific reason, and that's what this new study is actually about.
Okay.
What a lovely segue into. Hey everyone, remember to rewatch Freddy Got Fingered.
There's some new Tom Green documentary I saw.
It's good.
Is it good? I haven't watched it.
It's good, man.
He made it himself, right? He made a documentary about himself.
He had been, they had been shooting the whole time.
Yeah.
I can't listen. You got to listen to my Tom Green fan cast. I don't want to take this over. You know what I mean? Because I spend 4 hours every week with my co-hosts talking about Tom Green.
Sure. And it's redundant at this point.
Yeah, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? Just please listen to my Tom Green fan cast. People want to know how this works. It's fascinating, right? Like you're immediately.
Yes. Like I said, it is an alien as there is a concept, to me, because it is such a fundamental part of my day to day.
Yeah. So we've been studying it for basically since 2003. We've been seriously studying it. So Adam Zeman, who is a neurologist at the University of Edinburgh and Exeter, he studies visual imagery, and somebody came into him. The patient's name was Jim Campbell, and Jim came in and said, "Hey, crazy thing happened to me, Dr. Zeman. I had a cardiac procedure. I had a surgery. Okay. And after I had this surgery, I can't conjure mental images. When I was reading a book, I used to see the characters. When I lost something, I would close my eyes and visualize where it might be. I could see all these pictures in my head."
And because of cardiac surgery, was his heart not in it?
That's the thing, is he didn't want to try anymore. He gave up. He was like Amidala.
Yeah.
He was a lot like Queen Amidala.
They called it, that's the clinical term, actually. He Amidala'd.
Yeah, he Amidala'd on the table. Right there. And
the doctor went, no!
So basically, his mental stage was blank. And they were trying to figure out memory at the time and trying to figure out, imagination and all this stuff. And they were thinking about okay, something that we've now learned is that the visual cortex does get stimulated when people try to remember or imagine something. If you close your eyes and imagine that beautiful Apple product, everybody run out and consume immediately. When you close your eyes and imagine that, your visual cortex lights up as though you were seeing something.
Right.
There is almost a reverse of the way we see happening, right? So the way we see is you got light waves, you got electromagnetic waves. They go into our eyes. They get turned by our eyes into neural signals, into little bits of electricity, and they flow to the back of the brain, and the visual cortex goes, got it, right? And when we imagine, our brain is trying to do the same thing in reverse. Our brain is going, if I had seen this thing, and I had gotten this data, I'm imagining that I have the data, and so my visual cortex...
This is what would happen. Yeah, this would light up.
Your brain is simply trying to recreate that process.
That makes complete sense to me.
So what they found when they threw old Jimmy Campbell's on the fMRI was his visual cortex only lit up when he really saw something. He was asked, hey, here's some pictures of famous people, and then I'm going to ask you to imagine some famous people.
Yeah.
Jim Campbell's cortex only lit up when he saw the photos. It didn't light up for anything else. And so we thought to ourselves, well, that solves it, right? Imagination is different in some way. And so the visual cortex in people who have aphantasia simply cannot do the reverse process. They can't.
Right. Yeah.
These poor fools.
It's not providing the image that is stamped in your brain.
Yeah, he showed Jim Campbell a picture of Tom Green. He showed him a picture of Rip Torn. He showed him a picture of Drew Barrymore.
Wow, he couldn't get any of those?
And he could when he saw the picture. But then when the picture was pulled away, and he said, hey,
You're
can you
telling
imagine?
Me Freddie didn't get fingered.
That's right.
That's what
he couldn't picture it. And so they said, well, case closed, right?
Yeah.
We now know that it just doesn't work the same way.
Sorry. You broke your brain during the heart surgery somehow. Except
no. Here's the thing, Jeff. We have a new study this year.
Mm-hmm.
And this study says that, oh no, people with aphantasia actually do still generate brain activity in the visual cortex when they're trying to visualize something. Jim Campbell was a unique case because it was caused by some sort of physiological trauma during his surgery, right?
Right.
So the problem was the assumption that Jim Campbell's brain worked like somebody who has aphantasia.
Okay.
It turns out that if you've been aphantasic your entire life, if it wasn't thrust upon you by some sort of surgical procedure,
right?
No, your visual cortex works just as hard when you're imagining things as somebody who doesn't have aphantasia. It simply is the lines are getting crossed somewhere. Something from the visual cortex to the rest of the brain, it's not happening. The signal's getting lost. It's not getting translated. But the same part of the brain lights up. If you and I are asked to imagine our favorite scene from Freddy Got Fingered, which is, of course, Daddy, would you like a sausage? If we're both asked to visualize that, our brains will light up the same way. Our visual cortexes will be working just as hard, only I won't see something.
So what's getting in the way for you?
The new research suggests that there is actual different wiring within the brain that sort of warps or stretches a signal before it gets to where it needs to go to be seen visually. Basically, it's basically the difference between a left and right-handed brain almost. Things are wired in a different way, like almost reverse. So what they did is they sat people down in front of this machine that they've created that uses a trick called binocular rivalry.
Ooh, I love a good binocular rivalry.
Oh, it's almost better than friends to lovers. Are you kidding me?
It's when you get like a couple of a real bird watchers that hate each other, like a sick binocular rivalry.
But then by the end, they're getting married.
Oh, you didn't see that coming, did you, birds?
Because you have aphantasia. You dummies. You tried to picture it. You couldn't because your brain broke.
It was too close up. You were using the binoculars.
That's right. Binocular rivalry takes two striped patterns of different colors and flashes them back and forth in front of the patient's eyes. Okay.
All right. Then after you get rid of your headache.
Yeah. Right. But it's almost like it's a persistence of vision thing, like if two images flicker quickly, it's like they're animating or blending together. Right.
Okay.
So what they're doing is they are your brain tries to merge the visual information into one image, and it can't quite do it. It results like in this visual illusion where the two patterns kind of fluctuate, where like one will dominate your vision for a little while and then it'll fade and then the other one will kind of become dominant, but you'll never see the exact flicker because your brain is trying to put the images together.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It sounds awful. It sounds like it was sponsored by the Advil Corporation.
Yeah.
It sounds like Johnson & Johnson ran this study as a grift. But what they found is for people that can picture things in their mind's eye, asking them to think of one of the two patterns will actually bias which image they perceive first and most. So let's say the two patterns, one's red and green and the other's purple and yellow. Okay. And I tell you, hey, Jeff, think of the purple and yellow pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now stop and we're going to start the flicker. When I start the flicker, you're going to see the purple and yellow more than you see the red and green.
Because it was already pre-planted in my brain.
Your brain was already imagining it. It's already ready to see it, right?
Yeah, right.
So the stronger the mental imagery, the more likely it is to bias how they see the pattern. If you can't see things in your mind's eye, and they say, Anthony, picture purple and yellow before you picture red and green. They turn on the flicker and I just get a headache. I don't see shit, dude. It's a nightmare. It's garbage. I hate it. So something is happening where there is a different level of processing or type of processing happening. And they did find that people with aphantasia had slightly weaker signals from the visual cortex, but only slightly. Not to the point where you'd be like, damn, this brain broke. You know, they should still be seeing stuff. It was like, no, man, that should happen. It's kind of interesting. It says that like, I'm trying to describe, the way they describe it is very fascinating because it's almost like the going theory is your right eye or your right eye will be processed by the left side of your visual cortex, right?
Right.
But in people with aphantasia, it almost feels like that's not happening. Like we're just taking in all the information. Like, and it's not switching sides exactly the way it's supposed to. It's not lining up exactly the way it's supposed to. And then when we try to rebroadcast to our brain, it's not happening. And so is it faulty wiring? We don't like to say faulty. We like to say different. Because one of the things that they talk about in all these studies is like, this is not a disorder. This is not something that hurts people in their day-to-day life. Like, having aphantasia, like, dude, I draw all the time. Like I said, I design, I animate, I have like a mind like a steel trap for remembering movies, things that I've seen before.
Yeah.
Everything that,
and by movies, you mean just the oeuvre of Tom Green.
Yeah, it's Freddy Got Fingered, it's Charlie's Angels, it's, you know, but I can, everything that by talking to me, everything that you would assume is that I have a real visual memory.
Right.
I simply don't. So it's not a disorder because it's not really hurting anything that they can find. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of, I think a great example is the left-handed, right-handed thing. It's like, it's different.
Yeah.
It can cause you to have to do things differently and work around. But my question,
there are weak connections, right? Like we're both lefties, right? So there are little things. All of this stuff that was true when we were kids has been really downplayed and thrown by the wayside now. But the idea that left-handed people are more creative. Well, there's some weak data to back that up, but it's weak. You know what I mean? Like, there are slight differences, but it's nothing.
I'm clinging onto my superiority, though.
Sure.
As a left-handed person. Do
you remember when there were like left-handed stores in the mall?
So cool.
Do you remember when there were malls?
Loved those. Do you remember when there were stores?
Do you remember when malls weren't just the setting for indie horror games that only streamers play? No one's buying those games.
No, because they don't understand the setting.
No, they're like, what is a mall?
Yeah.
But no, there would be like left-handed stores that are like, look at the superiority of the left-handed person. And like fun little things, fun little T-shirts that are like, if you're left, you're right. You know what I mean? Like,
you're the only person in your right mind.
Yeah,
you know?
Nailed it.
I love those
books about famous people who are left-handed.
I bought left-handed scissors. I bought me some left-handed notebooks where the binding is on the other side.
I never bought left-handed scissors, and I never bought anything specifically left-handed.
Well, you missed out, man. It was a golden age for lefties.
Because I was just like, I don't need that. I remember being handed a pair of left-handed scissors in school for the first time and being like, no, I don't need that.
Well, you're better than me because
they both do the same thing.
I still have a disdain for arts and crafts that is left over from the trauma of not being able to cut things.
The only thing that I hated was when I was in like I remember being in high school and being in like a portfolio illustration class. And the thing that I hate is the dragging of your hand across the paper.
I would get this black mark on the side of my hand.
Well, and it would smudge and ruin art too. And you'd have to go back and redo everything. And it was a nightmare. But no, I learned guitar right-handed.
I learned guitar right-handed as well.
Because finding a left-handed teacher is stupid.
And restringing a guitar is a waste of time for everybody. You can't just pick up a guitar and play it. What's the point?
No, it's dumb. It's dumb as hell. You just learn right-handed. And then the only thing I had a stage combat teacher. And I forced her to teach me left-handed, even though she wasn't left-handed. Do you know why? Because the left-handed swordsman has an advantage, Jeff.
I am not left-handed or right-handed.
The left-handed swordsman has an advantage because people don't know how to defend it.
That's good.
And in stage combat, that matters because it's real.
Yeah. Yeah. To this day, if my children are like, Daddy, can you help me cut this out? I'm like, go ask your mother. I can't. I don't cut things. I can't. Daddy's left-handed.
That's pathetic, dude. It's a pair of scissors.
No,
get your shit together, dude.
It's beyond me. I was born incapable of dealing with scissors.
That's ridiculous. I find that ridiculous. I want you to know that.
Well, we can all judge. Hey, this is my question for you though. I appreciate the aphantasia not being a limiting factor and even being perhaps even accountable for some of your creativity or the expression of your creativity. You know,
Maybe.
like you said, seeking to realize something that you can't imagine.
Yeah. Now I can imagine it.
You know what I mean? Visualize,
how dare you?
Whatever.
Actually, how dare you?
Well, here's my next how dare you. If there was a simple way to change the way your brain works, if there was a pill you could take and you would wake up and it would allow you to see things in your mind.
Oh,
not
dude,
have
I did that a lot in college. I did it almost too much.
If there was a simple tab of something or I don't know, some sort of fungus that you could eat.
Yeah. Or a slip of paper.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Any kind of, I don't know. No, I mean it though. If you could just reverse this and would you want that?
Maybe. I don't know. I think about, because the opposite end of the spectrum I think about is hyperphantasia, right? The people who can vividly picture things. And one of the things about people who have hyperphantasia is they tend to imagine stuff more often and more vividly in front of them, like even when their eyes are open. And I think that would be a nightmare. I think
like they can imagine there's no heaven.
It's easy if you try. But like if they're standing in a room and it's like, hey, can you imagine a green couch right there? And they can without closing their eyes. It's like they can see the green couch, and it's like they don't even try. It's simply suggested to them, right?
Wow.
I don't like that.
Yeah. That seems like you're out of control of your own mind.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. So I don't know. Maybe I would. I wonder if I'd get anything done. If I had like a vivid imagination where I could actually see stuff. I'll tell you what. I have a decent auditory imagination.
You can hear things
like sounds. I can kind of conjure up.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I can do that. Like if you tell me a song, do I hear it in my head? I guess I kind of do.
But maybe I'm like Daredevil in that way. The man without fear.
Right. That you've accentuated your other mind's imagination.
Yeah, that's right. My other imaginative senses.
You can smell the shit out of things that aren't there.
Yeah, I can smell imaginative criminals. I can smell the fear on them. The theoretical fear on them.
That's great. Don't even get me started on imaginative tastes.
What's interesting is how much people that research this talk about it the same way we do. A lot of times researchers are like, oh yeah, it's fascinating and like blah, blah, blah. And you can tell that they're on a level that we're not on. And they're not like, we'll hear a story about something. We'll go, whoa, does that mean this and this and this? And they're like, well, actually, blah, blah, blah. And we've thought about that. And, the people who research this, they just talk about it the way we do. Like Cornelia McCormick, who's a memory researcher at the University of Bonn in Germany.
Yeah, James Bond. She had like a hard time with the idea that people don't have mental images. Like she was very much as do
like,
I.
She was very much like everyone else. She was like, fuck you, no way. Like she literally says that the first time she heard about it, she thought to herself, how on earth do these people remember their own lives?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How do these people remember their own lives?
I can relate to that sentiment. Like I said, it's as alien a concept as you could present to me. It's just because it is such a fundamental part of my life.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jeff, this is kind of interesting. She and her team scanned the brains of people with and without aphantasia while they recalled personal memories.
Yeah.
People with aphantasia do have weaker autobiographical memories.
That's amazing. You don't even know who you are anymore.
I'm less of a Daredevil and more of a Jason Bourne.
That's right. Yes. You're Jason Bourne except without all the skills.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. I have no set of skills. It's particularly I have a particularly limited set of skills. I'm a bit like Gordy from Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah.
In that way.
That's true.
So they're trying to figure out what's going on with that. They found out that when people are trying to remember autobiographical things, the people who have aphantasia have less activity in the hippocampus, which is what helps us to encode and retrieve autobiographical memories, right?
Yeah.
But our visual cortex is more active when we're trying to remember autobiographical things than people who do have mental imagery. So essentially what's going on is where they think that the heightened activity in the visual cortex could be inhibiting the signals needed to pull mental images out from background noise. Our brain is like, there's too much. It's almost like when you put two cables next to each other and you start getting a little bit of noise in an image, right? Like you've got a computer monitor and a sound card or speakers, and you put them next to each other and you start hearing a little bit of noise in the speakers, or you start seeing.
So is this like, hey, can you remember the house you grew up in? And you're like, I can't because I'm looking at the house I'm sitting in now. Is that the idea?
No, I don't think it has to do with that. I think it has to do with the fact that it's more the process of like, hey, remember this. For whatever reason, people with aphantasia, their visual cortex goes haywire, goes like too high and inhibits information from the hippocampus. It's working too hard to remember it. So it doesn't have anything to do with what's around you now. It's simply like the process of retrieval seems to be fucked up. I would have assumed that the enhanced visual cortex activity was our imagination trying to kick in because the hippocampus isn't finding anything.
Right.
That's what I would have thought. I would have been like, well, clearly we don't have the memory. And so our imagination is kicking in and going like, well, can I remember this? Can I make some of this up? Like, what does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently it's the reverse. Apparently what's going on is we immediately, the visual cortex lights up and goes, yeah, let's remember that. And the hippocampus is like, okay, you're hogging the microphone. We were supposed to give this speech together.
Yeah.
And you got on stage and you started like feeling like, oh, I'm a performer with an audience. It's just Dave's birthday. We're just giving a toast.
Yeah.
Calm down. And the visual cortex is like, fuck you. This is my time to shine.
Here we go.
I'm going to do my tight five.
Interesting.
It's weird, right?
Do you experience that? Is that an anecdotal reality for you, or you feel like you maybe have not as vivid a memory as other people?
Yes. Personal memory? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have whole swaths where people will be like, the thing is, if you can remind me of it, when somebody reminds me of something from my past, they're like, hey, you remember when this happened? I go, oh yeah. And
that does explain that whole pre-show ritual we do every week where I have to tell you who I am and remind you that we've been doing the show for 10 years.
Well, that's what the tattoos are for.
Right.
That's why I have the tattoos, is so we don't have to do all that with the pre-show. Our pre-show used to take an hour, and by the time we got through the pre-show, I was reset. And so now that I have the tattoos, instead of being scared every time, I just look and I go, oh, don't trust her. Her heart is full of lies.
That's right. Sammy
Daddy,
Jenkins.
would you like a sausage?
Sammy Jenkins.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I kind of do, whenever people do talk about this, you know, when you said earlier, would you want to be able to visualize this stuff? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. It does in a way when I know that 96% of the population can.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like, well, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
I guess it would be kind of cool to know how other people were experiencing the world.
I'll tell you honestly, not having it is a scary concept to me. It's a scary notion.
Yeah.
Like and I respect the fact that you're like, no, it's just normal. And, go about my day and it doesn't impact my day. But the amount that I do that in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
It's a scary notion to think that would be gone. Well,
and that's the thing is like this is the sort of thing about personal perception where it's like, are you seeing this the same way I'm seeing this? And it's like, all we can do about it is talk in circles.
Right.
But like when you say that you use it all the time, it's not like I'm not using recall all the time. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just, and that's why in the beginning when you were like, oh, so it's conceptual. You're just thinking of the concept of something. It's like, no, I'm not. Like I am, quote unquote, picturing it metaphorically. Like it's weird. I would imagine that it's sort of, it's like it is in a bit of a way, and I'm not doing a direct comparison because that would be ridiculous. But I have to imagine it is like when you talk to somebody who is blind and they're like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm good, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, It's like, what do you do when you walk into a room? I do the same thing you do. I put my fucking keys down. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know? Where it's like, okay, I don't, and I think like this is that to, maybe like just a small percentage point where you're like, how do you do this when I can't do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or how do you do this? How, I can do this thing and you can't. How do you get through the day? And it's like, I don't know, man. Just every day, same, easy.
I think about this all the time in a different way. There are certain things that happen to me on a daily basis or almost daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Sensations, things inside my body that I've always considered to be completely normal and part of everybody's experience, that at a certain age I got to and went, wait a second, maybe everyone doesn't have this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they're so hard and they're almost impossible to explain because there's no words for them, which made me think, well, maybe these aren't things that everyone talks about because there's no word for them. And I've never heard anyone express it. Like, for example, when I yawn,
Mm-hmm.
my hearing goes away for a moment.
Yes.
And sometimes that will happen to me without yawning. Sometimes it will just like, there will be a sensation where like things just kind of bubble around me for just a moment. And it's a completely normal sensation that I'll have, and it won't get in the way of anything. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's half a dozen things like that I experience internally in my body, in my awareness, that no one ever talks about, no one ever discusses. And at a certain point I go, is that unique to me? Or do we just all assume that nobody wants to hear about those things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do think it's like this, that there are probably a number of sensations that are uncommon, you know, and another facet of this is I think about how familiar I am with the inside of my own mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about how every single other person's inside of their own mouth is different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the only inside of my mouth I'm ever going to know. How the back of my teeth feel to my tongue, you know, the little bumps that are here or there. But every other person has a different experience of that.
Yeah.
And we just kind of go through our lives only having that one subjective experience.
Well, that's why I French kiss everybody.
Well, that's smart. See?
Everybody.
You live a more varied existence than I do.
Yeah, because I want to know, I feel like I want to know other people's experiences. And the best way to do that is to French kiss them.
Get inside their mouth.
Get inside their mouth.
Again, our pre-show ritual is getting more and more clear to me every time.
Yeah, but don't you feel like people can sense the connection, though?
I think they can.
It's interesting. I think about things like that. You know, your thing with the hearing, with the yawn hearing.
Yeah.
And then I think about, I have a buddy who some wire is crossed in his brain and always has been since as long as he can remember. Fried chicken and gasoline smell the same to him. There's nothing wrong with him.
Wait, do they both smell like fried chicken or do they both smell like gasoline?
Yes.
Damn it.
He doesn't know. He can't tell me, right?
Right.
He can't tell me. So, and it's like he went to, you know, when he was cognizant of this, that it was different for other people, he asked his doctor about it, and his doctor's like, okay, well, don't drink gasoline. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
my brother,
right.
It's so funny. People who study this stuff all the time, I think, are much more chill about it because they understand that, yeah, sometimes signals get crossed. Sometimes sometimes wiring is weird. You're going to have yawn hearing every once in a while. And that's not something that other people have. And it's not something that is necessarily indicative of something that's wrong with you. Although, concerned citizens, if this is a symptom of something, please let us know.
But I've had it my whole life. It's not like it's just, arrived.
I have like a little, it's not a heart murmur, but if you explained a heart murmur, you would think that's what I have. But I went to my doctor and I explained it, and they're like, "Yeah, no, just slipped out of like it's not like an actual heart murmur. It's just maybe every once in a while like you do a double beat or something." I'm like, "Isn't that a heart murmur?" And they're like, "No, nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect. We're such complex machines, you know? I remember I remember my dad sitting across the table from my brother, the famous pediatric cardiologist. And he wrote an episode of Grey's Anatomy, you know?
Oh, your brother did?
Yeah, he's a credited television writer and I'm not. And I told him to stay in his fucking lane.
Yeah, what's up with that, man?
I don't
He's got to be a doctor and a TV writer?
Yeah, I don't perform open heart surgery anymore.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Because I got tired of it. And I got tired of running from the law.
Right.
My dad was sitting across the table from my brother and he puts his elbow on the table and he goes, hey, every time sometimes when I do this, like I get this shooting pain. And my brother goes, don't do that, man.
Don't do that. Yeah.
It goes, it sounds like you shouldn't do it, dude.
Why would you do that if it hurts?
He's like, but what's wrong with me? And my brother's like, probably nothing, dude. I'd just say don't do something if it hurts.
Your body's telling you not to do that.
Can you imagine being a doctor and like having enough personal experience with this stuff that you understand the signal to noise? Like we talk all the time about doctors with dismissive or like bad bed manners, and there are doctors who are too dismissive. Like we don't want to say that there aren't,
right?
But like, it is really funny to think that like 100,000 people, you know, come in and see a doctor, and the doctor just learns the amount of variation there is in any human experience.
Sure.
And then has to explain to people the variation in human experience.
Talk about, as you said, signal to noise. Talk about a job that is literally just interpreting the subjective wrongness of every person that crosses your path.
God,
you know?
When a doctor, do you know what this most stressful thing in my life is? Is when a doctor asks me to describe the pain.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Describe it. What do you mean, man?
I don't know. Doesn't feel good. I don't know. Yeah.
Is it a sharp pain? I don't know. To me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be a sharp pain to you. Is there a universal scale? What are we doing? And it's like, well, just describe the way it is to you. I'm like, but what if I'm using the wrong words? The heart of language and communication is specificity. What we have to come to terms here.
You know, if
what you believe is a dull aching pain is something that I believe is a sharp pain, we'll never find out what's wrong with me. We're just going to talk in circles forever.
You know what my version of this is? And I don't want to get too far on a tangent. We're already on a tangent. But my version of this, Anthony, that I get a disproportionate amount of stress about is sit down in the chair.
Yeah.
Put the thing around my neck. How would you like your haircut? Oh, fuck. I don't know. I don't know. How
shorter,
do I
shorter.
don't know. I like good. I don't know. What the fuck what words do I can tell you I want a number 2 on the sides. I got that much down.
Yeah.
Right? Make the sides and the back short, a number 2. Beyond that, fuck if I know what to say. I got nothing. I got nothing.
Okay, but here's the difference, Jeff. You've been getting your hair cut every couple months.
Yeah.
Your whole life. You've chosen not to learn what you want your hair to look like.
It's not that I don't know what I want my hair to look like. It's that I don't know how to express that.
It.
Yes. I don't know how to express that to someone.
Every time the person cuts your hair and they get it right, you don't look at them and say, how do I describe this to the next person?
That's brilliant. I've never thought to do that.
Holy shit, dude. Are you
How do I
kidding
describe
me?
this to the next person? That seems so rude. It's sort of like, I'm not coming back to you.
When I come in for my next haircut, if I really like this, how do I describe it? What did we do?
Brilliant. I was today years old when I realized is that what everybody does?
Yes.
Everybody does that?
Yes.
All right, this is the aphantasia of haircuts.
Or you just, Jeff, we have
I just
to talk
didn't realize. I've never been able to imagine in my brain a visualization of my haircut.
Jeff.
I will take a picture of myself and show it to them and be like, make that.
Yeah, you can do that too.
That's what I've done, but I've never thought to say, how would you describe this?
Yeah, what did we just do? Describe
what have we
it to
done?
me.
That's brilliant.
Not just that, Jeff, but like, okay, between this and the scissors and shit, I feel like you just give up. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's true.
You
on
sort
certain
of give
things,
up.
on certain there's things that I don't give up on, but there's on certain things where I feel there's no path to victory. Then I'm like, why am I going to waste effort on that?
Jeff, the path to victory with using scissors is like
there is none.
No, Jeff, the path to victory with like
ask your mom. That's the path to victory. Ask your mom to help.
Jeff, is this all scissor related trauma? You can't describe a haircut.
It's true.
You can't help your kids with their arts and crafts. Was there some scissor related trauma in your past?
Yeah. It's true. Scissors is the culprit. I'm really glad we had this session today because, I feel like all the money I'm paying you for therapy hasn't always worked, but sometimes, once in a while, you have a real breakthrough,
Yeah, this, once again, I've got to explain the difference between podcast and therapy to you.
Huh? What?
But every time I try, you just go, it's too much. It's too much.
I can't.
There's no path to victory.
Podcast is scissors.
Podcast is scissors, everybody. And if you enjoy Podcast is Scissors, I should say people are going to be like, so what causes aphantasia? What's going on? People are going to want it wrapped up in a bow. Hey, fuck you. There's no path to victory on this one.
I don't, I can't see a bow. I don't see, you tell me bow, I don't have any idea what that looks like.
I can conceptualize a bow. No, we're finding out more and more. What's crazy about this to me is that we've only had the word for it since 2015.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, the fact that we already know so much about it, I think is kind of amazing. Because how many things have we covered on this show where we've been studying it for 100 years and we're like, we think we might have an inkling of an idea about what this conceptually could be.
Yeah.
And with this, they're like, dude, we've narrowed it down. We've narrowed it down to we understand what's going on in the visual cortex. We know what's going on in the hippocampus. We're going to find out what makes you deathless, dreamless motherfuckers work. And I'm like, whoa, calm down.
Us Three was talking about it in their hit song Cantaloupe.
You're bringing up the Cantaloupe?
Yeah.
All right.
Hip, hip, flip fantasia. I think they were talking about it. No?
Hey, everyone. If you understood that reference, you owe us $5. If you understood that reference, you're old enough to be able to give us $5. And you should.
You should. It's your duty and your opportunity to get some cool stuff. If you head over to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns, you will see all the cool perks you get for supporting the show, for fulfilling your duty as a Trip Fantasia.
That's right. Rewards start at just $1. You get access to our community Discord where everybody's just hanging out, chatting, having a good time. From there, it goes up to bonus episodes, videos, Q&A sessions, and even more. So go check it out at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Can you conceptualize the website?
I can, but I can't see it until I click.